products are made in America, and we can do custom orders in 2 to 3 weeks. So if, whatever you would need, we have a full complement of different core connector configurations like right angle, things like that. Say if you have your component against a back wall, we have right angle connectors and things like that. Some of the things that we're doing, for example, we have the individual conductors, and the spacing of the conductors is important as far as how we spread out the magnetic field. The other thing is shielding, okay? I don't know if you've ever tried to shield a cable on your music equipment, but the way it's normally executed, you got the conductors, they throw the shield over it, and then they throw the jacket over it. That shield interacts with the magnetic field around the conductors, and it messes it up even more. So what we do is we have a jacket around the conductors to space the shield away so it doesn't interfere with the conductors. So that's what goes into the size. It wasn't, looks impressive maybe, but it's really all about the engineering execution of the product. So this cord is called the AVP-16 because equivalent gauge, it's 16 gauge. And the other one's called the AVP-14 because equivalent gauge, it's 14 gauge. In fact, not naming any names, but if you use power cables, and this would go for any cables really, when you start getting higher in gauge, the higher the gauge is, inherent in the wire itself is a blurring of the timing of the frequencies is handled different, okay? The bigger the gauge, the more inductance, the higher frequency is going to roll off faster, okay? That's why we went to smaller gauge. The gauge of our wire is smaller than anything that's made commercially, okay? It's like 20 gauge as opposed to 18 gauge in the smallest conductor. But in order to handle the current, you got to have more conductors, and that's how we ended up having the multiple conductors. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to switch over to a guitar amplifier and show you the performance of a guitar amplifier. To help me, Andreas Kapsalis has come from Chicago, and the short story is we met in June. He was doing a concert at Chicago Recording Company, and while Andreas was warming up, I asked him if I could switch the chord on his amp, right? So, he plays for 20, 30 seconds, and then he looks up at me and he says, like, what did you do? And he had a smile on his face, and he was hearing some good things. So we talked after the concert. I convinced Andreas to take the chord on the road with him and use it for a while. So he's been using it since June, and we're going to do two things. Number one, we want to show you the performance difference on an instrument amplifier, and then secondly, Andreas will tell you what his experience has been using the chord. We're going to start out with the amplifier with the stock chord on it, okay? And what Andreas is going to do is going to play a passage of a song. We'll stop, physically change the chord on the same amp, play that passage again so you can hear the difference. How it's just harmonically, it's richer, fuller. You can hear the decays and things like that. It's just a new level of clarity because these timing distortion that's being caused by the chord and the AC, upstream from that is being filtered out by our chord. So that's what it's about. The artists especially are being exposed to this. Like we've got a couple posters here of these are artists that. In one case, I haven't even met this guy in person, okay? Just through association, loaned a chord to him, and just to kind of read a little bit of what it says here. He says, I switched the original power chord with yours, wow, what a phenomenal sound. I didn't touch the EQ on the bass or the amp, and I immediately got the sound I've been subconsciously trying to EQ for years. What he said is that he's always thought that his instruments have a certain sound. There's some artifacts that he couldn't get out. When he switched the chord, all of a sudden, he told me, in his words, finally his instrument could talk with its true voice. That's what he said. And, that's, for an artist to say that, and a similar story with Henry Johnson. Now I have albums of his that I bought in the 80s, okay? I've known about him for years. And just through association, a friend of mine that's writes reviews, okay? He knew Henry, and he got him a chord. Henry liked the chord. The comment he says there is in his own home studio, the amp that he uses. Normally when he turns it on, he can hear hiss from a distance, okay? As soon as he put our chord on, he said he had to get up to the amp like this to make sure it was on, okay? So now that's that noise level, right? Dropping the noise level, the clarity. First thing he used to ask my buddy was, could he take it into the studio? And he just had the chord for a week, okay? So, and, I did go to Chicago and meet him a few weeks ago, but I mean, this is all happening. These people are in the privacy of their own home, doing their own thing, and calling it like they see it. So.